similarities to what happened in Germany and what's happening now in America are just undeniable. History may not repeat verbatim, but it sure does rhyme. Trump and Stephen Miller, his former director of speechwriting, depict non-white immigrants as carriers of deadly diseases who are violent terrorists. Trump was returned to the presidency after staging a coup.
Well, it's that time of the year, people. It's Nazi season and Hitler season and all those good things that the leftists love to attack any right-minded and right-thinking person about. But I have a feeling this time it is just not going to work. As you see, Joy Reid is back at it on MSNBC, calling everybody, calling Donald Trump a Nazi and a racist and a bigot and everything else. And I think the energy this time is, I just don't care. Call me whatever you want. I really don't care what you think about me. And Donald Trump certainly doesn't care. He has been on fire since the start since the start of his second term. And let's hope that he keeps up the energy because it is incredible. So let's get into it. Let's see what Megyn Kelly has to say about all this.
Tom Homan was our guest the first half hour, and he mentioned this nutcase who was out there last night comparing the Republicans and the immigration sweep to the Nazis and the Holocaust. Do we have that, you guys? Let's watch.
Defeating the Jews of Europe, who they viewed as subhuman, was a question of good conquering evil, which conditioned millions of Germans to celebrate Hitler and turn a blind eye to his brutality. If that sounds vaguely familiar, that's because it is. Similarities to what happened in Germany and what's happening now in America are just undeniable. History may not repeat verbatim, but it sure does rhyme. Trump and Stephen Miller, his former director of speechwriting, depict non-white immigrants as carriers of deadly diseases who are violent terrorists. Trump was returned to the presidency after staging a coup and has exerted control of media or social media in order to parrot anti-immigrant vitriol and openly hateful anti-LGBTQ language.
And she finished that whole diatribe, Mark, by accusing Elon of doing a Nazi salute at the Trump rally, which we've been over ad nauseum. I mean, obviously she doesn't have a lot of sway with Democrats, but is it shocking to you that she still has the post she does on MSNBC?
No, I mean, there's a niche audience for that line of discussion. I won't say reasoning. It's not as big a niche as it was, although their numbers are up a little bit. It's interesting. On the Republican side, on the MAGA side, people like her, people who create content, people who have shows, they're interacting with the officials, and they're being really tactical and strategic to say, what are we for that's popular, and how do we sell that to the public? The Democratic Party, which remains as far left as it's been in our lifetimes, isn't doing that. They're just out there selling what they've been selling to their audience, not trying to think, what's wrong with what we're selling? Why isn't it more appealing to a broader group? And her revenue model is apparently wedded to that line as opposed to trying to think anew.
You've got CNN not doing much better. They have Scott Jennings on there, as you've surely seen, Dan, and he's doing yeoman's work trying to defend the Trump administration. He's literally the one Republican they put on with a panel of all Democrats, and I include the anchors in that. And he got into a dust-up last night with this woman from the Washington Post named Catherine Rampell, who used to be the theater critic, I think, over at the Times. So this has enabled her to opine on whether, for example, Pete Hegseth is qualified to run the Department of Defense, saying his only real qualification is he was on Fox News, kind of just wiping out all that time he spent with a gun in Iraq and Afghanistan and at Gitmo. She's reduced him to a Fox TV host as though Trump had nominated Brian Kilmeade. She's back at it over there, and she decides to go after Musk, who honestly, find me a billionaire, even Bill Ackman, who's, constantly posting on X about 10-7 and what's been happening at universities and is probably the main reason Claudine Gay went down at Harvard. Mm-hmm. But find me a billionaire that's done more to call attention to what's happened to the Jewish people in Israel than Elon Musk. He went over there. He toured it with Ben Shapiro. He's been wearing a necklace to represent the hostages since a parent of a hostage gave it to him. He said he won't take it off until they're all home. He's made repeated public statements about it. He went to Auschwitz. He recirculates their movies, like calling attention to this. No, he's a Nazi because he did the touch the heart and then the alleged salute thing. And watch this exchange she had with Scott Jennings.
The first time that Elon Musk decides to declare that globalist Jews are responsible for the great replacement of brown people into the United States, maybe it was a misunderstanding. You know, the second time he said that Jews are pushing hatred against white people, that's a quote, you know, that was a little iffy. By the second Sieg Heil, I think he kind of loses the benefit of the doubt to be not accused of playing footsie with these Nazis.
He has a long record of supporting the Jewish people, number one. Number two, anybody who is asserting this thing he did on the stage the other day was a Sieg Heil, which I just heard you say, you know, lawyer up maybe, because absolute ridiculous thing to say. Under no circumstances.
The Nazis in Germany thought it was a Sieg Heil.
Under no
The Nazis in Germany thought it was a Sieg Heil.
Was he doing anything other than expressing enthusiastically?
Why don't you do it on TV right now?
His appreciation.
Why don't you do it on TV right now if you think it's so?
Number three.
So, you know, banal.
Well, did Elon Musk actually say Sieg Heil when he did his salute or whatever it was? Maybe it was the Usain Bolt salute. You know, he used to do something similar, that sort of dab move. You know, if you said Sieg Heil, yeah, then I would definitely say it was a Sieg Heil. But I don't know what it was. Frankly, I don't even care what it was. At this point, I really just do not care. You know, they can argue about it all they want, but who cares? I care about actual actions, you know, personally. Yeah, Elon Musk is an interesting character, to say the least. He seems to be quite awkward, too, in many ways, to say the least. And we will see. We will see what his impact actually is on both on the Trump administration and on politics in general. That we will see. As we've already seen many times, including the Democrats. I mean, they constantly go on about how January 6th was an assault against our democracy. Well, our democracy withstood the assault very handily. No problem, actually. You know, so even that insurrection, that so-called coup, was easily, you know, batted away by our democracy. Actually, it's proof that our democracy is working. So even if you concede that the January 6th was a coup or an insurrection, our democracy handled it just fine, and our democracy is handling Elon Musk's alleged Nazi salute just fine.
I can't. Can I just tell you a little backstory about this woman? So she attacked Pete in the way I said. I came on the air and pointed out she's a theater critic and she should shut up. She doesn't know anything. And then she posted on X, she was all offended because people were writing nasty things to her. Oh, thanks a lot, Megyn Kelly. Let me explain something to you, Catherine, about being in the public eye. If you're going to go on CNN and you're going to offer inane opinions, people are going to comment on them, and then you might get some nasty tweets. It's called being an adult on the internet. Grow up. So she doubles down and accuses Elon Musk of a double Sieg Heil. And why is this happening, Dan? Is it because they need to take down Elon? He's too much of a threat. Or is it because identity politics and the opportunity to hit somebody for being anti-Jew or anti-black or anti-what have you is so important to these far left wingers that they just look around for any possible opportunity and then they seize on it. You know, they just see it where it isn't there because they've trained their brains that there are racists and Nazis everywhere among us.
Yeah, that clip was embarrassing and ridiculous. And I think, look, the frustrating thing as a Democrat is, one, there is some data that the country is not comfortable with, like, business titans in government, because they don't necessarily think they're there because they're, you know, completely patriotic and philanthropic. They think they might be in there to pad the bottom line, and it's in their, you know, business interest. You lose all credibility to start making those arguments, or people won't hear them, when you start calling them a Nazi and you start, you know, kind of focusing on a hand gesture on the stage.
Well, this guy, apparently he's a Democrat. He makes a good point. He's, as other Democrats, like over on the Young Turks, for example, decades-long Democrats, decades-long progressives, they too, like this guy, are realizing that this whole call everybody a Nazi thing is just not working. So it will be interesting to see if the Democrats manage to change, at least change their message, at least change the way they go about things. I hope they don't. I hope they keep calling everybody Nazis. It's because it will just dig them deeper into the hole that they are digging themselves into. So I hope they keep it up personally, because it will just ensure that more and more people turn against them, even moderate Democrats like this guy talking here. So that's all we can hope for. We'll see. We'll see what happens at the next election, but that's 4 years away. And it's going to be quite a ride. So I'm looking forward to it. Let me know what you think in the comments, as usual. I have been reading all the comments and I've been replying to quite a few. I enjoy the back and forth. Just keep it respectful. So far, everybody's kept it very respectful, even when you disagree with me. I appreciate that. And in the meantime, please like and subscribe. Really helps me grow the channel and continue making content for you.